You know, these walls, they are Palestinian. And of course, when they confiscate land, they change every Palestinian touch and it becomes Israelis. So we have to resist, actually, we have to resist.
There's a poem by an Israeli poet that said that the stones of Jerusalem are indifferent to blood and to tears because they've known so much. The children are beginning to die. This is the feeling, and you have to stop that. I also think that Israeli boys who become soldiers and do kill children, they are dead too.
Have they anything to say about why you're here? So why are you here? Why are you here then?
The call of blood and violence was much higher than the call of peace and love and tolerance and all that.
We have to prepare something for the generation to come, to give them a real peace and not only aggressivity instead. And for both, always for both societies.
Terrorizing a whole population for so many years is much greater terror than to come with a knife and kill somebody or come with a bomb and kill somebody. I mean, this is tragic and this is tragic, but if you do it from an airplane, it's not less terror and not less violent and not less terrible than what they do. So I don't even call these people terrorists, because if they are terrorists, then we are much greater terrorists.
أبو عماد أبو عمان دارو
أيوة وأنا
إيش
كان في دور والدور هاي هدتهم اليهود. هدتهم اليهود رفتهم زي ما انت شايف. والحين انت بتاخذ صورة. لا انا هناك جرفوها تجريب.
درافة.
والله يا اولاد ما انتوا عارفين الدنيا وين بدك.
والله واحنا وانت كمان.
ايوه لا
جسر جسر. ابو عماد ابو عماد ابو عماد عربي. وين هو؟ داره دار.
والحين من الناس اللي انهدت بيوتهم هذول كل واحد في منطقة زي ما انت شايف. وهناك خيام وغاد خيام وغاد خيام والناس مشتتة. الناس تعبانة يعني وضعهم تعبان خالص. والله يفرجها من عنده يا رجل. احنا بنطلب ان الناس تساعدنا وتوقف معنا يعني. فاذا لما نلقى مساعدة على كل حال. اليوم احنا ناس غلبانين، ناس بندور وراء الرزقة، وراء لقمة الخبز، ودنا نعيش. احنا لا بنكاتل ولا حاجة ولا محتاج، ودنا نعيش. بس حتى البيت ما هو سلمان. البيت بيتك يا الانسان تقعد فيه. مو متى سلمان منه؟ ايش هو؟ يا اخرة الكلام. يعني ما فيش. طالما انت مشتت ملكاش مكان، ملكاش قيمة، ملكاش في هذا. لا حول ولا قوة. يعني واحد بيته بينهد وين بده يروح؟ في ايام السقعه مرت علينا ومطر وبرد وريح والطنيات تتوجع وتكتلوا من هالبرد. ايش الخيمه بتنفع في ميه لما هذه الارض تكون ميه. يعني اولادنا مرضوا.
تعال توريك. تعال
قولي له coming.
لا تعال
This is a house constructed by a Palestinian living abroad. And he was thinking when he finishes the house, he will come back to be in Bejala. But he didn't have the chance because his house was bombarded during last year. And usually the people of Bejala, during nighttime, during the bombardment, that means, they used to leave the houses and to go to live in Bethlehem, in the city center, or elsewhere. And during the daytime, they come back to their houses. So it's not a real stable or secure life anymore. So we have to adapt ourselves to a new method of living.
I'm amazed that in this situation.
For example, summertime, we don't have water. So people has kind of reservoir to guarantee to have the water during when they cut off the sources. It's a kind of punishment. The water is becoming a kind of punishment.
They never asked me for a paper. They never. They just, you have to wait long time. This is it. I was coming that day from Jericho, and it took me 4 hours on the checkpoint.
I have to pass the checkpoint about 100 meters on foot. I have to show my ID, and then I take another car. I reach here. I also have to walk and to show my ID. And sometimes they say to me, wait until we check your position. And sometimes they take my book and search for papers. I don't know what kind of papers. And then I'll go to university.
You have to prepare yourself all the time for the unpredictable. We are living in a very volatile, changeable situation. We never know what will happen tomorrow, but we are sure that as Palestinians, we are able to adapt to any new situation the occupation authorities are going to impose on us.
I teach at Birzeit University. I must tell you that more than 65 girls have been obliged to quit school. They don't come to university anymore now because they come from different areas. And because they cannot sleep in Ramallah or in Birzeit itself. So their movement is now kind of cut off. They cannot come to the university, and so they decided to leave school.
طبعا هذه الزخارف كما قلنا هي زخارف داخليه، بس في نقطة مهمة جدا نسيت احكي لكم اياها، انه علاقة ما بين برا وجوا شبه مفتوحة.
Ogni giorno ti sei confrontato con questa occupazione, questa difficoltà di muoversi, di andare al lavoro, di fare quello che ti pare. Io ho la carta d'identità verde, quella della Cisgiordania, vi faccio vedere, quando uno dal checkpoint guarda questa carta d'identità, per lui se ne frega niente, sia professore, sia dottore, sia qualsiasi, per questo è la carta d'identità. E quindi io ho una parola a quegli israeliani che hanno vissuto nel tempo fascista, che sempre avevano la stella. Noi non abbiamo la stella di Davide qui, noi abbiamo la carta d'identità verde e quindi sei un condannato senza parlare, senza discutere.
The Israeli army is the sovereign body in the occupied territories. And we can see it, they decide whether they want to enter Gaza or not, whether, where to close, which road, to give the permits. This didn't change during the peace process.
تحت الغروب وأهدي وأعرف أمامك وأقول الوداع.
The Fourth Geneva Convention fixed very clear universal norms about unoccupied territories and the rights of an occupied population and the duties of the occupier. And Israel is violating and in fact doesn't recognize the applicability of the Fourth Geneva Convention in the occupied territories, which is also a decision of Israel. That any state can declare that the law, I can declare as a citizen that I don't respect the law of traffic.
When you see good houses, well-arranged area, you should know that it is a settlement. This area used to be Arab area or Palestinian. Palestinian houses were demolished here and they construct the new settlements here. They are looking forward, you know, to the future, but they are planning to many hundred years in the future, but we are planning just for our daily life.
يعمل مستعمرة ويخلع شجرها.
They will start to construct a new settlement here.
هلكاتها طلعوا الجيش قبل فترة إلا هم بقولوا هذه في سي يعني ممنوع. هذا مش سي، هذا مش سي بس عشان الانتفاضة قالوا إلا نسكر عليكم إلا.
So according to them, they will demolish it very soon.
This is where Sharon has been very coherent in his policy since he was minister in Begin's government at the beginning of the 80s. To create this, to enlarge the Israeli presence by settlements, by bypass roads, according to a very clear plan. It's not accidental, it's not random. There is a plan, leaving some places where they know Palestinians are in very concentrated ways as Palestinian Bantustans. And when Sharon says he's ready to accept the idea of a Palestinian state today, he means the areas which are more or less A and B areas. And it shows the continuity between Sharon conception and even Rabin, at least when Rabin negotiated the ABC divisions in the West Bank. A and B are Palestinians. They are populated by the Palestinians. These will be the Palestinian kingdoms. And they can call it kingdom, state, empire, it doesn't care. There will be no continuity between these territories. This will be exactly Bantustan.
colony, each settlement, is encircled by a green zone. This zone is to guarantee the security of settlers. And usually it is guarded by military, Israeli military. And then you have the bypass roads that connects the settlements together and Israel. So you have the roads connecting the whole areas and limiting the Palestinian territories. So for us, the settlements are zone closed.
The great majority of the settlers, I would say about 80%, are economical settlers. They are going to settlements because it's the only way to get out from their housing problems for a cheap price and with high quality, life quality. They are concentrated in the urban settlements or in the settlements very close to Israel.
I don't think any real mother, and I really say real mothers because there are many mothers here who are for me not real mothers, who go and live in settlements on a stolen land and teach the children to hate and to kill and expose them to danger of death every day. So these are not real mothers for me.
66.
لقينا بقى شلي
My son was 17 years old when he was killed. He was killed very near to his place, in his school here, Hashmiya school. That day, some of the settlers from this settlement came to this area, and they claimed that some students threw stones on them. And so they came to the school and they started shooting at the boys. The boys were afraid. They went to the roofs of the building to hide. After that, the soldiers came, the army came, and they started shooting with the settlers. One of the boys was shot in his leg here, and he was bleeding, and nobody took care of him. It just happened that this boy was a friend of my boy, my son, and Rami, my son, wanted to save the boy, so he came down and he tried to drag him to one of the classrooms in order to give him first aid. But at the same time, when he carried him, one of the settlers shot him in the heart, and he was almost immediately killed. There were some times when I felt unable to protect my little children, you know, from the soldiers and from the war and from all that. So when my children came to me and they were scared, I would look into their eyes and say, well, I wouldn't tell them that, but I would say to myself, what a coward father you have. I am unable to protect you.
بحب البحر لما يزوم وعشق صرخته في الريح واحس في موجه شوق مكتوم لناس حرة وحياة بصحيح بحب البحر لما يزوم وعشق صرخته في الريح وأحس في موج وشوق مكتوم لناس حرة وحياة بالصحيح وأحبه لما يتهان وأدوب لما يوشوشني ويفرش موج وسجادة في أحلامي تعيشني.
Palestinians are the ones who react, because when you have an aggressor, the aggressor conditions the behavior of the aggressed. So the Palestinians are the aggressed ones, they are not the aggressors, because we, Israel, occupies their land, Israel terrorizes their population, and whatever they do is a response to the tortures and to the most terribly cruel regime they've ever known.
It is the right of people under occupation to resist occupation. I think it's enough to say this in the parliament. But in certain cases where Israeli civilians are targeted in a way that I don't agree to, both morally and politically, we have to say our opinion about it, even in the Knesset, in certain cases. But I don't do that much, because I don't want to play the role according to the Israeli drama of who's the victim and who's the victimizers, and to turn it suddenly that the Israelis are the victim, and always to play the role of, we condemn the Palestinian actions, because at the end, I think we should put things in context, and the context is the context of the occupier and occupied and resistance against occupation. This is the real context of things.
When we talk about war, we are talking about military on the same level. And here we have the resistance and the military. By having the resistance in the area, so they bombard the whole city.
Bloody things that happened in Jerusalem and Jaffa and Haifa, and I blame myself for being happy. How a human being be happy from a scene of blood? And whoever, a human being, would be happy from a scene of blood. But this is what they did to us. This is what they made the people see. This is what, I hate to say it, but they really, deformed our feelings as human beings.
The fact that, well, first of all, the fact that we have the conflict and the peace process and whatever we have now, we are having it not with the normal colonial power like France, Belgium, Holland, Spain, Portugal. This would have been simple. This would have been simple, now. I mean, who would care if the Palestinians would have a state? But the fact that we have a conflict, not with a normal colonial power, but we have a conflict with the victim, with the ultimate victim of Europe, is making our issue very, very complicated. And it's making it so international, like it shouldn't be actually, as international as it is these days. Considers itself, sees itself, defines itself, behaves as the state of the Jews, not as the state of all the citizens who live in it. So there is a discrimination which is, how would I say, it's a built-in discrimination in the system, in the ideology.
מדינת היהודים, אין מקום לערבים במדינת היהודים, אין מקום לערבים במדינת
Out of your own will, we brought no bus from a kibbutz all over the country.
Israel claimed to be a Jewish democratic state, and it's a contradiction in terms. If Israel will have a democratic constitution, it either will be a theocratic constitution or a racist constitution, apartheid constitution, which Israel doesn't want, to look officially as an apartheid state, although there are apartheid institutions, an apartheid reality, apartheid and racism practices in Israel.
Buonasera, mi chiamo Jonathan Pacifici, sono in Israele da 5 anni. Mi piacerebbe capire che cosa ne pensate del futuro Stato palestinese, e mi spiego meglio. Questa regione del mondo è piena di dittature, di stati totalitari nei quali i diritti civili per i quali tanto vi battete sono calpestati ogni giorno. Parlo della Siria, parlo della Giordania, parlo dell'Egitto, parlo dell'Arabia Saudita, parlo di tutti gli stati che sono intorno ad Israele. E parlo anche dell'autorità palestinese. Vorrei semplicemente capire se qui viene ad esserci uno Stato palestinese come persona italiana democratica. Vorrei capire che cosa mi viene a vivere vicino. Mi viene a vivere vicino uno Stato democratico o mi viene a vivere vicino l'ennesimo autoritarismo? Grazie.
Israel is an ethnic democracy, it's not a liberal democracy. It's a rule of the majority, not according to the principles of equality, etc., etc., etc. So it is, I call it a Jewish democracy, not a liberal democracy.
Speaking about equality, it's written every citizen of Israel, all the citizens are equal except in the laws where they are not, which is exactly the contrary of a constitution where the principle of equality is above the law, and the law should abide to this principle. In Israel, it's the contrary. There is equality, but not always. And we have to accept it because we are a Jewish state. If we don't create a partition today, tomorrow we are confronted with the South African model, and then we'll have no white state or Jewish state, we'll have a binational or a citizen state, because we'll have to give rights. I rather would prefer the second model of rights for everyone, in one with a concept of citizenship like in Europe. Citizen independently of your ethnic or religious belonging. Most of the areas of Jerusalem has nothing to do with Jewish history. They have nothing in the Bible or in later will connect the Jewish people to Kalandia or to Shuafat or to all these areas which has been annexed to Jerusalem. But by using the name Jerusalem, or now using even the name of Greater Jerusalem, which is much more even than Jerusalem, the Israeli governments, all the governments, are trying to create a symbolic link and a kind of ownership between the Jewish people and these areas.
Non accetto la tecnologia coloni e ti spiego perché. Se tu vai in un posto e sei un corpo estraneo, come possono essere i bianchi in Sudafrica, giustamente sono dei coloni. Ma qui arriva una persona, si insedia in un posto, scava, che cosa trova? Una moschea?
Che cosa trova?
Trova antiche sinagoghe.
Sono dei fascisti. Non esistono fascisti in Israele, guardi come stanno. Non puoi dialogare con un cane, perché fa Paolo.
Il problema è che
come dialoghi. 15 mesi fa Barak gli ha dato tutto e lui ha detto no, voglio di più, voglio tutta Israele, voglio mandarmi dentro 4 milioni di profughi, dai.
In July 2000, somewhere the peace movement in its great majority has been convinced by the terrible argumentation of Barak that the failure of Camp David was not because of the lack of agreement between both sides. It can happen in negotiation that your price and their price does not fit. No, the argument of Barak was, I gave everything and they say no. From that we can conclude that they don't want peace, they want war. He didn't negotiate. He came and said, take it or leave it. And what he was suggesting was unacceptable by any Palestinian leader. It was, in fact, the solution of the Bantustans. It was to give the Palestinians parts of the West Bank, disconnected part, or almost disconnected parts of the West Bank, no control on resources, no control on borders, no sovereignty on Jerusalem. Nothing to say, of course, about the right of return of the refugees, or even taking responsibility on the creation of the problem of refugees. It was a no-starter from any point of view of common sense. But for Barak, this was not only the only offer, it was the most generous offer.
Confronted with those who were black. In 1936, Mussolini's people, the fascists, used to wear black shirts. In 1931, the SS in Nazi Germany used to wear black. In the old days, the people of the Inquisition who used to torture the Jewish people wore black. And the women in black are continuing this infamous tradition. They will never break us. We survived them. We survived the difficult time now. We will win. We will win. We will.
There are strong difficulties in Europe in particular to use normal standards towards Israel by helping Israel to build itself, to establish itself, and by letting Israel, leading its policy as it wants. The European states believe that they give themselves a new virginity towards the Jewish people. In my opinion, in fact, it's the same kind of giving a special status to Israel is exactly it's another face of anti-Semitism.
Desserrez-vous un peu.
ايش فيه؟
صور ورا.
اندق الباب دخلوا الهويات اندق الباب ودخلوا الهويات الصدر مصاير
اسمع يا حبيبي
There to show them that we can resist their violence. And so they will try to use tear gas, they will try to use sound bombs, and they might try shooting. Usually they will shoot up in the air to scare us also.
تندافع عن أراضينا ويا شارون ويا جبان يا شارون ويا جبان هذه رام الله مش لبنان هذه رام الله مش لبنان ويا شارون ويا لئيم يا شارون ويا لئيم انتفاضة بتشيلوه انتفاضة بتشيلوه وعالنار بنهجم عالنار وعالنار بنهجم عالنار ولالي وقفت لك النار لالي وقفت لك النار
gas, because if we do get gas, we're not going to be able to stay here.
They have been living for a long time in a prison, and we need to have the connection with other people. It's very important to give us also the force and hope to go on. So I think it will play on both psychological and the political one, because I'm sure whenever the delegation come here and see the reality by themselves, they believe on what they say.
To repeat again from my heart to your hearts, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
بالحزب بفتح بجبهة وجبهة، وفتحنا على العدا، فتحنا على العدا مليون جبهة، وصرعنا ثورة بزنود الشباب. عدرب الفدا يا ناس ماضي، أنا على ضرب الفدا يا ناس ماضي، وسيف الانتفاضة سيف ماضي.